So we've got our mesh, and we've got our textures, and we've got our rig. So you're like, wow, this is amazing. The body can move in all sorts of fun ways. Except it doesn't have any expressions yet. We've got all this geometry for the face. We've got these eyebrows, these eyes, like the mouth, the tongue, the teeth, the tooth, and the lips. Um, and right now it's just this static smile. So what we're gonna do now is create what are called shape keys. And shape keys are things that like VR chat avatars use, VTubers use, and even professional animation uses shape keys to break the model in certain ways in professional animation. Shape keys are like a very, very fundamental part of character animation in Blender and other programs as well. Um, Blender used to call them blend keys, and then I think, or blend shapes, and I think just in order to keep everything clear as possible as what things are, has changed it back to shape keys. So I'm going to go ahead and hide the armature just so we don't have those sticks in our way. And I'm going to click on the face of our model, the head of our model. I'm going to tab into edit mode. And just like we were using the vertex groups last week to help kind of define parts of our model, certain vertexes, and change the weights of the bones associated to them in weight painting, we're going to be using vertex groups, and right below the vertex groups, you'll see a little window for shape keys right here to the right of me. So what you want to do first, more than anything, is we're going to be tabbing in and out of object mode and edit mode a lot for this. And actually, we want to start in object mode with the base mesh selected, and right where it says shape keys, over to the right, there's this little plus button. And before we make any expressions, we want to make one shape key that has nothing in it. And if you just press shape key while that's empty on the object selected, so in this case, the face, you'll see it created a shape key called basis. And what this is this is the resting position of your character. Whatever basis is like what tracking programs will like default to when you lose tracking. It is like all other and all other shape keys will be largely built out of basis. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So, and something it's important to keep in mind, you do not want to touch basis. You do not, like, once you've got the model exactly how you want it for your resting position, go ahead and lock basis. This with this little lock tab right here, because you do not want to mess with basis, because if you mess with basis after you add other shape keys, it'll affect all of those other shape keys. Like, I mean, which you might want. Like, let's say you added a bunch of other shape keys and then you realize actually you want the nose higher in literally every other shape key. You could affect basis, and then that would affect every other shape key you've created, and basically have this like cascading effect of changes. But for right now, let's just say you generally are not going to want to affect basis. So once you've created that, lock shape. And now what we'll do is we'll just create another shape immediately. It's called key 1. And I'm going to go ahead and name key 1, and we're going to call this blink.l. And now that I've got blink.l selected, make sure it's selected and not basis. I'll select blink.l, it's highlighted in blue here, and now we're going to tab in to the model. And now any changes that we make will only be permanent to this blink.l shape key. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to grab all of the eyes here. And if you think about blinking, I'm also going to turn off my mirroring, which is up top here, this little butterfly X, so that it doesn't accidentally do it on both sides. And if you think about blinking, the top of the eye comes down more than the bottom of the eye, but I'm going to select all of the vertices in the circle of the eye with Alt click. I'm going to hit S to scale, and then I'm going to hit Z to scale them down along. Now on manual blinking. Yeah, that'll happen for this, unfortunately. Hit S to scale, and then hit Z to scale along the Z axis. And now I'm going to shrink them all just a little bit, but I'm not going to go immediately to like a full close. And you can kind of see why, because the eye, like the actual pupil, is clipping a little bit. So I'm going to grab that and bring it out front a little bit. And now I'm going to grab the top of the eyelid. And I'm going to hit G to grab, Z to drag down along the Z axis. And bring it down to like a comfortable blink position, or wink in this case. Now, for this one, I'm having it be like a down blink, because if you really think about your own eyes and how you blink, like if you blink right now, or like hold your eyes closed, you'll see it's like kind of in this almost like a smile curve, this kind of crescent shape that we create with our eyelid. But if you wanted, so I am going to close the shape all the way. I'm just getting a little bit more selective as I go. Doing it less as a huge group and more vertice at a time, so I can make sure that it all looks good together. And this is why a lot of people will have like eyelash texture. And so now you'll notice once I've closed the eyelid all the way, the vertices are totally shut. And we could have this go into more of a smile. Like if we wanted it to be like a happier blink, that's totally okay. That's what I have my character do. You'll see when I close it, it's more of an up crescent than a down crescent. That's just because I wanted my character to look a little like happier all the time. So maybe we can make that a little bit more true here as well. So let me adjust that so it's an up smile. It's like a smiling blink instead of a just a more naturalistic one. This one's just a little cuter. Okay. And so now we've got this we've got this blink, or this wink really, because it's one eye. And you'll see when I raise the value, you'll see when I tab out into object mode, it goes back to basis, right? It goes back to the eye open. That's because this blink .l is set to 0, right? The number here is set to 0. If we look down right below, you'll see value. And here, let me scroll just a little bit down so it's a little bit more on screen. You'll see value. And if you change that to 1, it'll change it to see, you'll see the full effect of the blend shape. I like to tab in and out so that the vertices can lessen the way. Like that looks really good. And now, if you start to squint or something, this will be like the halfway point for your eyes. And now, luckily, we don't have to do this flipped for everything. as long as our mesh is symmetrical, which it is, because if you'll remember, um, is this something you can keyframe with a breakdown arc? Like set what the 25% looks like, set what the 50% looks like, set what the 75% looks like, and set what the 100% looks like? No, unfortunately, it's a 0 to 1, and then whatever, it just like eases it's like an even in between. Um for all of this, you can create custom blend shapes that if you want really um if you want really precise facial tracking, I really recommend you look into this thing called AR Kit, iPhone AR Kit facial tracking. You need an iPhone to use it, and you need specific apps to use it. I use one called iFacial Mocap. I'll go ahead and write that in the chat. Which I think it was like $5 or $6 when I bought it. I think the price has increased a little bit recently. And then that is compatible with facial tracking in Warudo. And what that does is it iFacial Mocap wants you to have 52 different unique blend shapes. It's called the 52 AR Kit tracking. Here, let me write that down in the chat as well. And you can find guides online of what those 52 shape keys are. We're not going to go over all of those today because for low poly modeling, that's kind of overkill, to be honest. I mean, you can do it, but we're going to focus more on just the, like today specifically, we're going to focus more on, like what VR chat purposes would be. And like what are like, VR chat and like typical what they call visemes, which are mouth shapes, and the kind of like 4 key expressions that things like VC face and all of those typically track, rather than creating the full 52 range of kind of like micro expression tracking that then stack together to create like better, more rigorous facial tracking. I personally use the 52 shape key AR kit tracking for my face tracking because I really wanted precise like mouth tracking, precise like eye and expression tracking. That was like an important part of my character, but not all character fidelity, especially low poly, needs all of that. And in fact, some of those shapes that they want for your blend shape mapping for the 52 shape keys would be pretty hard to create with such low poly characters because they require you to do things like puckering your lips or like creating a funnel shape with your mouth. Like some of it would be like it'd be overkill. Not to say you can't do it, but think about what you need for your purposes when making this stuff. So now we've got our first blink, but what if I want a perfectly mirrored blink without having to like try and nail the exact vertice? Because like, oh, if I tried to recreate that from scratch on the other side, like probably the middle point would be different. It might be a little more curved, a little less curved. Well, as long as your model is symmetrical, which ours is because of we kept the hair as a separate mesh, which was the only asymmetrical part of our body. As long as the mesh is symmetrical, what you can do is you can click on the blink blend shape at set to value 1, and then hit this little shape key special drop down menu here to the far right, and you can click new shape from mix, and that'll create a second shape key. And if you shape keys can overlap, so what this is trying to do is basically move the vertices twice. And you're like, oh, well, I don't want that one eye to blink twice. But what you can do is set that to 1, and then just go back to that drop down tab that we did the new shape from mix thing, and then click mirror shape key. And now it just flipped the shape key over to the other side of the model across the x-axis. So now we've got 2 blinks with only having to do the work of a single blink. So I'm going to go ahead and name that blink.r. And now we've got a full blink. And we could, depending on what we want to do, like if we wanted every time we blink for our eyebrows to come down, we could make that we could make that motion part of it. I would recommend making that its own separate motion though. Keeping eyebrows up and eyebrows down their own shape keys. So for VR chat, the main thing that they're going to track is blink L, blink R, a variety of mouth shapes, and then you get 4 custom expressions. Those are the primary things that VR chat is going to track, and so that's the main thing that we're going to be working on today. I accidentally closed it before the stream. Let me pull up the list of mouth shapes that we want to create. Okay, so the 5 key ones are, if you're familiar at all with Japanese, is a, I, U, E, O, which that's kind of like the phonetic foundation of the Japanese alphabet, is a, I, U, E, O. And those are like the primary vowel sounds that we're going to make with our mouth. And a lot of this stuff comes from, VTubers kind of originating within idol culture within Japan. So that's why a lot of that stuff was set as standard. And if you look up VR chat Visemes, that will give you a list of everything that you need. One of them is called Sil, aka silence, or Sile, I guess. We're gonna create a P, like a P Viseme, a F, and like F, like Viseme, a TH, like Viseme, a D, like a D, K, K, CH, Ch. You spent most of today working on the phoneme mouth movements for your tuber. Amazing. Yeah, it's an important part. And then if you are doing the blend shape method of like you're doing the 52 AR kit blend shapes for a 3D model, you don't have to do these additional blend shapes. You can though, and Warudo specifically will let you like I have both of them stacked together for extra fidelity in my mouth movements. And Warudo in particular will let you basically combine visual tracking with audio tracking for your mouth movements to try and give you the highest fidelity kind of lip sync quality that you can get. So when I was making this model, that's something that I wanted because I always found the kind of like lack of good mouth tracking to be something that triggers the uncanny valley with me in other VTuber models. And so I wanted something that felt very expressive. So yeah, well, you make a D, a K, a Ch, a S, like an S, a N sound, an R sound, and then A, E, I, O, U, or A, I, U, E, O. Okay, so with that said, let's start making them. So from the basis, I'm just going to create a new shape key, and these have a particular like way that they need to be labeled. So I will, in the edit, I will put those the way that they need to be labeled on screen right now, but also we'll just, you'll see them here in the shape key list as I go. So starting with A, which I often find to be the best starting point because it's just like a jaw open kind of like sort of position. This is why I mentioned that we were going to make a few extra why we were making a few extra vertex groups. I specifically wanted a vertex group for the teeth and the tongue because this is really, really helpful. Where right now, I don't want to select the teeth by accident. So I'm going to select the teeth and I'm just going to hit H to hide. So now the teeth are hidden because the upper mouth doesn't really move all that much. Like, it's going to raise a little bit. Um, yeah, it's very, very helpful to like, I mean, I will say hiding the teeth looks pretty funny. Um, but got that wob effect. It's true. Wah, wah, buffet. So now I'm going to grab these Visemes and I'm going to hit G to grab and then lower it by Z and we'll lower it. I have proportional editing on right now, which you can turn on or off with O. Like to use it for the initial like mouth shape, and then uh get rid of it once I want to finesse the individual like vertices a little bit more specifically. And then sometimes you're gonna want to look back at the mouth and be like, okay, well that's scary. Uh, so let's go ahead and like grab some of this and just try and like start to shape these so that the mouth looks a little bit less like a Frankenstein. I'll bring up the little corners of the mouth just a little bit. And I'll grab the teeth. And so you can also grab the teeth by, because they're a vertex group, you can just hit select since we turned them into a vertex group last stream. Raise that up very slightly. And now we can also grab the tongue because we turned that into a vertex group and treat that separately. So we can grab and rotate, grab and slide. And then I think the thing is we need this mouth. The inside of the mouth is getting a little, like it's not quite hollow enough. The tongue is clipping through the bottom of the mouth faster than I would like it to. So let's open up the inside of the mouth just a little bit. We can lower this point a little bit too, so it's a little less intensive. And then maybe shrink the jaw just a little bit so it's not quite so pointed here with the ah. Select the tongue again. Bring it to a comfortable position in the mouth. And let's check that. Okay, so the thing I'm noticing, I don't like the teeth movement. So we'll try and rectify that. Because the lips really shouldn't move that much. So I'm going to pull these back down a little bit. I'm going to grab the teeth again, drag them back down. They're still raising a little too much. Since the teeth are attached to the skull and that part of the skull doesn't move, there we go. The lips can move because the lips are muscles, but the teeth shouldn't move, typically. Oops, I accidentally grabbed the teeth there. I just want the tongue. And this is just kind of like making these individual shapes look right to you. Whatever you think your character should look like when they're going, ah, is what you want this shape to look like. That's different for every model. I can only do what I think looks right for this character, but yours is probably going to be a little different, and that's okay. Bob Ross rules, you know? Happy little teeth. Exactly. Okay, and then that's looking pretty good. I think the one thing that's throwing me off is that this part of the jaw isn't lowering any. So let's drop this part of the jaw just a bit. There, that's much more natural. So even then, I think let's keep this down just a little bit. We're about to hit a 3-minute ad break. So I will take a quick break, drink some water, and be back after that 3-minute ad break to make the rest of the mouth shapes. Look at how excited she is when it hits. So once you're done hitting the bong, as she clearly is in this, with this expression, you know how she's feeling. She's a mushroom mage, you know, she's, and boy are those mushrooms magic. If you catch my drift. Hey, thank you, Riz, for the hydrate. I just did. We just got back from ads, and I chugged a bunch of water. All right, let's make more mouth shapes, shall we? Oh, except not my face tracking, because I went to the toilet. I've been hydrating so much I needed to dehydrate, if you know what I mean. And I'm sure you don't, because I was so vague. What could those cryptic messages possibly have meant? I also got a throat lozenge. Hopefully that'll stop me from coughing so much directly into the mic. Again, apologies for that. Okay. I'm really hoping we kick that in the week, like this coming week with those antibiotics. All right, so now we've got double D's. And by that, I mean it's time to make the D mouth shape. And the reason it's called that I'm calling it double D's is literally that's what we name it. Just like PP, don't worry. It's gender equality, PP, and DD. That's what I'm all about. So, for the duh sound effect, again, I highly just recommend making the shape with your mouth, right? When you do duh, like the duh sound, you press your tongue up against the roof of your mouth. You kind of like lower your mouth a little bit, like a bit of a pucker. What could I possibly have meant? Why would Momo be angry about it? What could I possibly have meant? Nobody would ever know. So for that, we'll bring the mouth down just a little bit. And you want the mouth down basically just enough to make room that you can see the tongue hit the top of the mouth. So now I'm going to select the top of the tongue using the vertex group we made last stream. I'm going to rotate it up and then just raise it up a little bit. Maybe rotate it a bit more. So because the back of the tongue is basically stationary usually. So we get the mouth opens just a little. And actually, let's bring the edges of the mouth in just a bit. Because when you do the duh, it's kind of brings some of the face in. Yeah. There we go. That's another easy one. Okay. So now from duh, we're going to do k. So k is an interesting one because it's actually very similar to duh and k, you know? But instead of the front of the tongue hitting the mouth, k, it's like more the back of the tongue hitting the mouth. The roof of the mouth. So I'm actually just going to start this with a 1-to-1 new shape key from mix with the D that we just made. I'm going to set it to 1. I'm going to set the D back down to 0. I'm going to name this KK. Be very careful that you keep it KK slider and not the other one. So now with the tongue, we can basically take this exact blend shape that we have, and then with the tongue, rotate the tongue along the x-axis so that it's just the back of the tongue kind of coming up. And then ka is instead of like if you do duh and ka, the ka mouth is a little wider. It's like closer to the E vising that we had before. I'm gonna bring the bottom of the lip up just a little bit too. So you know what? The ka like isn't that open of a mouth shape in my experience. Yeah, if this went into like kick or cudgel, this would totally work. Ka. Ka is a hard one to show not in motion because you don't usually keep that mouth shape closed. But even if, as I just said that, like the ka sounds and like the ka shapes kind of changed a little bit from each word, but these all flow in and out of each other that it shouldn't be too much of an issue. All right, so now we've done duh and ka. Hey, thank you so much for the follow, Hannah. Hannah 574820262. Hope that is not your social security number, because it's exactly the right amount of digits. Hope you're doing okay. Hope you do not get your identity stolen. All right, the next one is ch. Wait, no, that's one extra digit, isn't it? Or let's see. No, that's exactly the right amount of digits. I hope that's not your social security number. If it is, hey, no one steal Hannah's identity. That's not cool. Okay, so for the next one, we're doing cha. So again, now if you make that shape with your mouth, ch, you like it's pretty close to the oo, the o and the oo, like the because you're bringing your teeth together, making a bit of a funnel with your lips. So considering we only have 2 teeth, I'm gonna like do something kind of like starting in this shape and then maybe bring the mouth closer together to simulate the shape of lips. So once you've got all these other blend shapes made, you can start to mix and match. Like you don't have to just have one like set to 100 to make the new blend shape keys. You can start to like I've got the O set to 0. I've got the U set to 0.19. Or the O set to 0.5. And so now I can make a new shape from mix there, set those back to 0. And now the 1 on this is that mixed shape. Really helpful when you're making like expressions that you want like both of the eyes closed for, or like, stuff like this where you want to use a slight mix of each, of multiple like mouth shapes. So cha, just bringing the lower lip up a little bit. And this one, again, because of the teeth situation, is going to be, I'm going to have the lower mouth match with the teeth. And I typically like to think of it as like, what will the mouth look like in motion? This is where I have a bit of an advantage coming from an animation background, where I've done a lot of lip sync, of like if I'm thinking of like churro or cheese, chomp, like how will the overall mouth move? And I think for a CH with limited teeth, this is a pretty good one. It's kind of the closest you get to like a bean mouth style. And if I could have like extra teeth here just for one pose, I would. There are ways to do that, like like hide extra meshes in parts of the mouth and then have them show up only for certain blend shapes. People do things like that. It's a little over the top. So name that one CH. And now we've got the cha. Also it kind of rounds out her mouth in a kind of cute way. That's sweet. All right, so now we've got cha. We've only got 3 left. We're gonna do secrets. We're gonna do secrets and nuts and radio. And it's everybody's favorite secret nuts radio. And by that I mean we're gonna do the S mouth shape, the N mouth shape, and the R roses. So that's a little special one just for y'all. Roses. I've gotten so good at rolling my R's. You would never know that I wasn't able to do it. Just a few days ago. Thank you, chat, for teaching me how to roll my R's perfectly. Secret Nuts Radio. And I'm your host, Grover. Okay. Recalibrate. So the sound is not in the throat. Is that not how you do it? It's me. I sound like a children's TV show host who's like, I don't even know how to describe it. Okay. So this going for a voice acting gig, I mean that will destroy my voice again, and I'm trying to heal it, so I'm gonna limit that, I think. I don't actually think I would I'm not an actor. I don't think I'd be particularly good at voice acting. Because I don't have range, I think. I mean, obviously I have that beautiful voice that I can slip into, but I don't think I can do a dramatic monologue using that Muppets voice. So the sound, I'm gonna start with the E sound, because if you think about like when you're saying like snake, you stretch your mouth out wide, and then the tongue goes to the roof of the mouth. So I'm starting with the E blend shape. I'm gonna make a new shape from mix there. Set the E back to 0, and this new key to 1. Now let's take the bottom of the mouth and let's bring it up. Let's not do that to the teeth. And then I'm going to bring the edges of the mouth up into like a smile, because like this very similar to the cheese, like the E for cheese, like doing snake, that first beginning, if you really hold that S, it kind of forces your mouth into a bit of a smile. And these will be fairly closed. And the tongue will just rotate up slightly. Slightly. And a lot of these consonants, like, aren't going to be the end of the world if you don't get them perfect. Because, like I said, it's way more of the vowels that you want to make sure you nail. The consonants will only show up, they'll kind of like flash on your character for a moment, in between the vowels, but the vowels are like what you need to make sure your character is like hitting. And so also then um when you're like dialing in the sensitivity of your mouth shapes, I would say give the vowels priority. Give having an open mouth when you're talking priority over um giving your consonants priority. Oh no. I'll have to check the clips after. Yeah, Drosser spoke that roses into being. So there we got a little mouth shape. And now we got nuts. Type SS for s. And it's important that you name these all exactly right because they will this is what like other programs are going to look for, specifically when you bring this into Unity. Unity and then other like Unity will import your list of blend shapes, and then when you're bringing that into another file format like VRM for VR chat, VSF, or Warudo file formats, they all look for very specifically named shape keys, which is how they know how to track like what kind of facial tracking onto what like part of the face, essentially. Aw, that's very sweet. It's because he knows what makes you laugh and happy, and it's rare, so he's doing it on purpose. I mean, it's good stuff. I love that. Hello, Spirit. Hello, Spirit. We just made the S shape key for this mouth. I hope you're doing well. Um, so now we've just got to do the N shape key, which is very similar to the S, and the R. Both of these. So what we are doing today is we are adding blend shapes to our model. So things like we had the rig all done, we had the textures all done, but now we're adding like blinks. We're making that our character can wink or blink. We're adding like making it so that it will be able to track talking. We're making it so that it has all the different kind of mouth shapes and face shapes that we need in order. Oh, I accidentally grabbed everything at once. That's not what I meant to do. That was crazy looking. Hold on. Can I do that again? How did I even do that? I've never done that before. You can't it's not letting me try and do it again. That's funny. That was deeply cursed. Oh, I'm emo now? Oh, weird. It didn't alert me. Ugh. And so like I guess if we have to learn how to express ourselves, that's like, you know, how we'll do it, I guess. Even if we're making shapes with our mouths, it's not like anyone's listening. I'm so misunderstood. It makes me go, fuck. Makes me go, duh. It makes me go, ooh. It's not a phase. This is just how my face works. Ah. Okay. So let's now make the mouth shape. Let's go nuts. So the N is really close to the S shape. But it's just the mouth is her face is too chipper for emo-ness. Yes, it's me that's the emo. But she makes me smile again. But I'll never tell anyone, not even my diary, because I know my mom reads it. So I've just started planting there. I've started talking about smoking in my diary. I don't even do it. I tried cloves once and it made my throat hurt. So now we're making the we're making the shape with our character now, and that it's very very similar to like halfway through the S one, but I bring the lips up a little bit more on the and I bring the edges of the mouth down a little bit more. And then the tongue, the mouth shouldn't get as wide on the it should honestly come in a little bit more. And then have the tongue raised just as much as it did in the S. So it's creating that slight variety. Yeah, we made that nuts shape. The tongue is like maybe a little high right now, so we'll. Not that I get high. I get high on life, man. I don't even need anything for that. I'm actually straight edge. Oh, my bang went away. Maybe that's just who I am now. Maybe I don't need a bang to express myself in this way. Maybe I can just be this. Maybe that's enough. So now we've made the sound effect, or viseme, which is what these mouth shapes are called. Oh, and then also remember to save your work. Always important. I haven't said to do it today, so do it. Do it now, you coward. I know you won't. I know you won't. I dare you. All right, and now we just make the rough. And honestly, for in this situation, I claiming you don't have range and you do that nonsense. I'm not gonna say I have convincing range. I have cartoonish range, which I mean maybe for like I guess maybe for voice acting that's what you want. But so is like pretty close to the the o. Is Momo one time thing or is she finished? She will be back we'll be back playing more Dispatch this Sunday. It's just that she's busy with work. And so she can only stream every so often or like co-stream. And so she's busy. She's a busy lady. She's in a lot of meetings. And so meanwhile, I house husband, so I've got hours to myself. And that's why I can stream for y'all. It's in between grabbing groceries and making delicious dinners. I can stream and do art. And so yeah, it works for us. Looking forward to seeing her again. Yeah, no, we're really looking forward to playing more Dispatch too. I think we'll like now that we've got the model all set up and we've done a lot of the workshopping on the like making the face tracking work and stuff. We'll definitely like we're gonna totally play through Dispatch. We'll try and do like I can't even guarantee one a week, but I'll say we can probably do 2 Momo streams a month at minimum. And then while we're playing through a game like Dispatch, we'll try and do it like once a week. You got to duck and roll that. I don't think I've gone there far. I don't think I've gone far enough. We're only on chapter 2, or we just finished chapter 2. We'll be moving on to chapter 3 and 4. Maybe they did say you got to duck and roll, and I just missed it. So now I'm gonna make a new blend shape from this mix, the O and the U, because when you're doing that, the rough, rowdy radio. It's like it's very similar to the mouth shape you make for U. I hope you'll both stream more. You like rating couples. Yeah, we're definitely like it'll definitely mostly be weekends when it does happen. But she really, really enjoyed it. And all of y'all coming out and making her feel so welcome was a huge part of that. So, yeah, we'll probably try and do once a week while we're playing through Dispatch. And then it may vary depending on like what her like work schedule is from there. But once we're done with Dispatch, We've really enjoyed playing the Resident Evil games. We played Resident Evil 7 and 8 together. So playing through 9 together would be a lot of fun. Requiem. Um, I've also she is getting Pokopia tonight, um, and is very looking forward to that. And I've said once she's a little further in that, having a little town report, a little Pokopia town report where she comes onto stream and does a little show in town. Yeah, still coughing. I did get prescribed antibiotics yesterday, luckily. So I went to the doctor because I'm so sick of it, and they prescribed me some antibiotics. I gotta go pick those up tonight. I went to go pick them up earlier, and there was a bunch of cops surrounding my pharmacy. So that was happening. I was like, I will come back later. I do not need the antibiotics that badly. Um, thank you for the hose. Yeah, that looks like a good raw. And those are the primary blend shape keys that we need for face tracking and uh for uh for face tracking and for like lip sync specifically. There's others that every every VR chat model you can have happy, or I think they call it joy, anger, surprise, and sorrow, which is like sad. So you can have 4 default emotions in VR chat, and a lot of people use those as the base expressions for their 3D models um in Warudo as well. And you can set those to like keybinds to toggle when you're streaming. And then the other things that a lot of people have that they do. Who is this character anyway? Spirit. This is a character that chat kind of co-designed. Everybody in chat a few weeks ago. I was just doing a thing where I had a bunch of different ideas, and Chad voted on each one. So Chad voted on a short and stout bunny girl mushroom mage with dreadlocks for hair, for the basis of our character design for the low poly series. And so I then designed that from chat's suggestions and what they voted on. And so it's just an original character, no story associated with them, not yet. If people in chat want to come up with a background story for her, I'm happy. I would love that. But yeah, I just thought that that would be fun to have like a little kind of group character design that we all worked on together. For then showing off the modeling, texturing, rigging, and shape key process. Yes. Hey, thank you so much. I think we are getting ready to. I will probably be calling it at 5 today because I've got some things to do in the evening. But so, as I was talking about, we can do 5 more shape keys, or 4 more, and we can do more than that too. A lot of people make like from here. People also do shape keys like let's just start a new one from scratch, and let's grab the eye, the pupil. I know we've got IR select, and we can bring that over here. Whoops, tongue is also selected. So we can make one shape key that's also like the IR in, or I in dot R. And now, if we duplicate this by setting it to 1, new shape key from mix, and set that to 1, and then on this new key 19 right here, we click mirror shape key. Oh, that should have worked. Oh, maybe it's because I did it on the wrong side. That's weird. Hold on, let me try that again. Okay. Let me do this I.L. Oh, it actually might be because the eyes aren't symmetrical. The rest of the face is, but the pupils aren't. So This would be eye I L or I out dot L. And let's try new shape from mix, mirror shape key. Let's see if that worked. Nope, unfortunately. Okay, yeah, the eyes we'll have to do one at a time because they are not perfectly mirrored. That's okay. So we'll do another, and we can grab that eye, and we can bring it in. And a lot of people do these too because you can have eye tracking in VR chat and Warudo. So this would be then eye in dot L, and then you can make. We can now make another one. Do eye up. We'll call that eye up dot L. And then new shape for mix. I like to add a little rotation to it as well, because the pupil does actually rotate when we move it. And this would be eye down dot L. And now you can also make things like, oh, here, I'll do the left side of the eye, or the right side of the eye. Her right side, I should say. So we can do the out. Eye out dot R. Eye in dot R. Eye up dot R. And eye down dot R. So now we've got a bunch of different eye shapes. So if we want to start getting real wacky with like eye up and eye down, or we want to do things like have cross-eyed poses, we could just set both eye ins like that, and we can set like, like the O, like oh, you can start now. You can start getting really silly with some of the yeah, exactly. You can start making derpy expressions, and stuff like that, in really fun ways. If you set like the blink, now it looks like she's maybe been hit or punched. You have like the kind of expression that you could toggle when like they're supposed to be like dizzy, sort of thing. And you start playing around just like when we got the rig starting to work and it started to feel like an action figure. Now you've got the action figure, but you've also got the face of Mario from the Super Mario 3D, or Super Mario 64, I mean. So you can start really playing with expressions and all that stuff together in a fun way. Yeah, now it looks like something out of Banjo-Kazooie. 100% Drosser. Okay. And so now the other things that we can do are, and I would really recommend taking a look at the list of the 52 AR Kit blend shapes. You'll get all sorts of things like eyebrow, like they get really specific, right? They get like inner eyebrow left down. like kind of thing is like what they get into. So like you'll have like this is one like the inside of one eyebrow will be tracked. And you'd have that look something like that, you know, and that lets you do Pixar face. Um, you can incorporate the ears into the emotions. You totally could. The only thing is, I was going to give the ears jiggle physics. And so having the ears, like having them change with blend shapes plus jiggle physics might break them. It might break them as they're like bouncing around. Um, so you totally could. Like if you wanted to not ever worry about jiggles, like the ears bouncing, and just like have them be part of the expressions, you totally could do that. I probably won't do that just because I'd be worried about that breaking the jiggle physics. For this example at least. But it's totally something that you could do. Yeah, so I mean, you can do like, you know, uh inner brow down. I think it's like L inner brow down, like this kind of thing. And this is why I would recommend looking at the 52 AR kit blend shapes list specifically, because they also give you the exact specific names that you need to follow for this. And I might be getting it wrong here. I don't have that list specifically pulled up with me because I was just going to do the more basic ones that they do for VR chat. There are great like PDFs online that show you exactly what all 52 blend shapes are. You can totally find those out there in the world and add those onto your model. And I highly recommend it. I think that the 52 blend shapes are really fun. You do need specific iPhone tracking. You do need an iPhone to be able to use that tracking, is what I'll say. And not every VTuber software supports that level of fidelity of tracking. But if you just want this for animation or games and stuff, you can add all of these and you don't need to be as particular about the naming conventions. So now let's go ahead and let's make, we've got time to probably make like 2 quick emotions. So I think it'll be fun to show, let's do angry and surprise, because honestly, happy is not that different than what we already have. Happy is kind of her default, joy. So if we do angry, or let's do surprise first. I think surprise will be fun. So surprise, what we could do is I'm going to hide the hair actually and grab these parts of the brows and really raise up the arch of her eyebrow. Make sure it's not accidentally clipping through the head. Yep, bald. It's a good look, honestly. It works. And specifically with surprise, you tend to, your upper inner eye tends to have a lot more range of motion than your outer eyebrow, or your inner eyebrow. I mean, your like inner or your outer eyebrow tends to be fairly anchored in place. Just speaking of like human anatomy. So I can get these brows up and arced. Now I've got the brows way up. I think let's extend the eyes out too, huh? So they'll increase just a little bit. And by just a little bit, I mean I increase them quite a bit here, scaling them along the Z axis to make them go up and down. And then my little pro tip for scared or surprised is shrink the pupils way down. Pupils dilate when startled. And now let's say, like, oh, I really like this. I wish the mouth was open, but I don't want to have to mess with all those blend shapes to make the big open mouth again. I can set this key 27 to 1 that we already have, and then I can just go up to like the ah and like maybe some of the O blend shape. And if I set those together, it gives us a really good basis, honestly, for like a really startled, like that's a funny startled expression. But I actually might not want the mouth open that much because the mouth expression, like these facial expressions, will stack on top of the rest of the mouth lip sync. So I might just start with this. That way, when the other lip sync goes on top of it, it doesn't totally break. It might still break a little bit, and that's stuff that you have to kind of like tweak uh as you go and as you experiment by bringing your model into Unity and then testing it in whatever software you have of choice. You'll see like, okay, what parts of the model are breaking? How do I fix that? You'll go back to Blender and then bring it into Unity, then into your like thing again. I've probably done that with Friday 4 or 5 times. Momo, same thing to get like her design working. You kind of like bring it into the final tracking software, stress test it, and then go back and fix some of the model at like once you're past this point that we're reaching here. So now I really like this. This is a very fun expression in my opinion. So I'll go ahead and hit new shape from mix. I'll set those other ones to 0. And we can test it, make sure we got it right. Key 28. And there we go. Now we have a surprise expression. The pupils shrink, the brows shoot up, the mouth drops open into an O. It's a very cute expression. And we can turn that, we can say surprise. And now when you bring this into Unity or when you bring it into VR chat later, if it's a VRM file, you'll be able to auto map these blend shapes that say surprise onto like certain key bindings and stuff in order to trigger them. So these aren't things that it will just track directly into, but it is stuff that it will like you can just like hit a toggle to turn on. So now let's go ahead and we can make angry. So I think for angry, let's go ahead and we'll grab the top bit of the eye as well as some of the eyebrow. And we'll bring that down and forward a little bit so it's not clipping. And I'm keeping the eyebrow locked onto, not like locked, but I'm aligning the eyebrow with this part of the head that has the shadow, because that is like basically implying musculature and bone structure of the head. Uh, so it's like, when you think about where your eyebrows are on your head, there's like a muscle that they're resting on. And usually there's like, it kind of indents in. And thank you for the bonk. Uh, and it indents in and then turns to shadow right in that spot. I'm gonna also bring up the lower eyelids a little bit. That often happens when you're angry. This one really is the DreamWorks face, the lowered eyebrow. I'm about to like mirror it, but it is funny that like without mirroring it, it's like there's a lot going on there. So I'm gonna rotate the mouth into more of a frown. And right now you'll see I've only done one half of the face. That's because I've shown you how to mirror things before. So I'm going to set that to 1. I'm going to hit new shape key from mix. Then I'm going to say, hey, mirror that shape key. I'm going to set that mirrored shape key to 1. And now I've mirrored it perfectly with only having to do one side. And now if I hit new shape from mix, set these other two from 0, and then set 30, now it's both at once. So I made one side of the face, created a new shape key from that mix, flipped it, set that to 1 so that they were both applied, and then hit new shape key from that mix. So it was taking the mix of both of the shape keys, both sides of the faces, like being angry and scowling, and then basically was like, okay, cool, use that to make this new third shape key, and now that's our angry expression instead of having to, do both sides custom. Yeah, this is her when you've pissed her off. You don't want to piss her off for some reason. I'm sure there's reasons. I can actually, and it's sometimes good. It's like, look at the way that her forehead absolutely crumpled in this new shape key. Sometimes it's good to go in and check and like fix your model just a little bit. You got to be thorough. Make sure it's looking okay from every angle, especially if it's for animation and games. You want it to look good, at least from most angles. Yeah, this is somebody who ate her expensive mushrooms. Yeah, that's fun. Let's try throwing the hair back on. Wow. I'm going to tell my kids that this is Shadow the Hedgehog. This is Shadow to me. Give her a gun, you cowards. And then with surprise. Okay, we've got enough time here. I'll call this one anger. Let's do sorrow. Angry expressions really bring a character to life. Yeah, they really can. Shadow has a gun, not shrooms. What about a gun that shoots shrooms? They didn't consider that. The US government is toast. And by that I mean the US government within the framework of the video game Shadow the Hedgehog. For all of the FBI agents watching. Okay, so sorrow is almost like reverse anger. So sometimes if you're sorrowful enough, you get angry. Or sometimes if you're angry enough, you get sorrowful. And by that, I just mean we're going to bring the outer eyebrow down. Nurgle gun? I don't know Nurgle. Who's Nurgle? I feel like I do know that name, but I don't remember it right now. I like to have the inner eyebrow. Like, if you really think about it, the inner eyebrow can't really dent down. Again, if we're speaking like super anatomically correct, the inner people always draw inner eyebrows or like the inside of the eyes, like sad eyebrows, like this. That's like actually kind of physically impossible, but it looks good. It's funny seeing that with a smile. There's a bit of a like a pathetic weenie quality about it. I know somebody heard pathetic weenie and started reaching for the hot dog redeem. I feel it in my bones. I feel it in my carbon steel frame. Yeah, I feel like sorrow, sorrow and confused can sometimes often go together. And worried. Those definitely, yeah, yeah, felt that coming. Ugh, such a pathetic weenie. No one could ever love me. This is, I'm so full of sorrow. I don't even need extra salt for my tears because I'm so filled with sodium as a big, pathetic weenie. Again, the upper eye coming into play here, for just a little bit of like, emotion. And we'll do the same thing that we did with anger, where we take that one half that we just made, new shape from mix, mirror it, set that to 1, and then new shape from that mix. And bada bing, bada boom, we've got sorrow. I'm such a pathetic weenie. Oh, gosh. Oh, dang. Oh, man. How does everybody know I'm just the worst? So this is sorrow. I don't have ketchup or chili. Oh, Sonic the Hedgehog will never love me. So we got a nice little sorrow expression there. Feel like that's going good. Okay, so I think, and then you would make joy, which is same concepts. Bring the eyebrows up just a little bit in the inside. Maybe bring the lower lids. Actually, you know what? Let me do it real quick. Let me do this one so quick. Name that sorrow. That way we've done all of it. Okay. You can also, if you do have the your mesh is symmetrical, you can turn on mirroring for this instead of doing the shape key like double blend thing that I've been doing. I just keep on forgetting to turn that on. That's a way, and if you're like me and you're forgetful, that's a way that you can solve your problems. So bring your lower eyelid up into a smize, then bring the corners of the mouth up with you. Maybe curl the corners up into just a little bit more. Honestly, if you do it too much, it can look a little creepy. So I would honestly say with joy, especially if you have a happy looking character by default, don't go too crazy. But like that's just enough. We can make the cheeks go up a little bit too. That way the smile's kind of pushing the cheeks up. And since she's already happy, I'm not going way too overboard with the joy. Happy Bunny. Oh man, wasn't that like a run of like like it was like a clothing line and stuff where it was like a happy bunny who was saying like really mean or like depressed things. That was like a 2000s clothing line. Okay. And we have made all of the in 3 hours plus me getting very distracted. We have made all of the shape keys that you need when making a VR chat avatar. Boom. There you go. And if you want to go crazy and add the extra 52 AR kit blend shapes, you can find those online. I will have a link to them in the YouTube description below once I edit this. The ones that I've used as visual reference for making those for my characters. But back in my day, we had to buy our memes. It's true. We at least had to go to the mall to look at them in a Hot Topic. So yeah, I'll have the AR kit blend shapes down below. I really like those, but again, super unnecessary and like straight up not even useful if you're just planning on using something for like VR chat or anything like that. But if you're planning on if you really want a big um kind of appealing expressive VTuber for streaming, I would recommend using the extra blend shapes. Next week will be taking this character and everything that we've built and bringing it into Unity and then Warudo. Yes, so in Unity, I will teach you how to basically set up a scene in Unity in order to add your materials, your setup shaders, and set up jiggle physics in Unity, and then bring that character into Warudo. So we will have like we'll probably actually like test out using this character in Warudo next stream and see how that looks. All right. So next week should be the last lesson of the series, which is great. I feel like we've made really good time, and it's just in time for me to start pivoting to other work streams because, like I mentioned, there's going to be some news about commissions. Yes, this is where the Mac is no longer compatible. If you just want to export into a VRM file format, you can get the UniVRM UniVRM for Blender plugin, and you will be able to. There are like tutorials online on how to export what you have here and what you've made into a VRM file that you can then use for VTubing and such. However, that will not support the dynamic bone jiggle physics that I'm going to be teaching next week. Is the only thing. So you can use spring bone physics with that, but there's no way to test spring bone physics in Blender. You kind of have to guess and poke at the numbers to try and make it behave like you want. It's a lot of trial and error for that. Yeah, no worries, Drosser. Yeah, this stuff will all get edited. You'll be adding this to your reference playlist once it's up on YouTube. Yeah, I just put the new one. I put the UV unwrapping and texturing one up on YouTube today. We're gonna basically be like 2 weeks behind on that just because of how long they take to edit. So next week the rigging and weight painting video will go up, and then after that, we'll have this video. So it's all kind of like staggered by like 2 weeks essentially. But that gives me time to do a slightly more thorough edit on them, though I haven't had time to do that for everything just because good edits take a real long amount of time. So I'm doing my best to at least add good timestamps into everything in case you want to skip forward. Would flame effect count as jiggle physics? Yes. The way that I set up Momo's flame physics were from jiggle physics. So you will be able to, as far as I know, Unity works on a Mac. So the Unity step that I'm teaching next week will be that part will be compatible with Mac. It's just the export to Warudo. You would want to export it as a VRM instead. I've never done that. So I can't speak to that specifically. But the way that you'll add dynamic bones and jiggle physics in Unity would be applicable still. And would still work on a Mac. Yes, far away from that step for now. It's true. And you'll learn and relearn and make mistakes as you go. That's part of it.